The first events of 2025 have been and gone, and we've seen some great tennis already leading up to the Australian Open. The United Cup's taken place, the women's tennis has been really good, Iga losing to Coco Gauff, and there's plenty to speak about.
America win the United Cup for a second time, and it was Taylor Fritz who got the job done against Hubi Hurkacz after Coco Gauff started the year with a bang. She's looking good ahead of the Australian Open. She defeats Iga yet again, and this time in straight sets. I mean, let's just get stuck into the United Cup first. There's so many other finals that went on, some retirements that have been happening across the board, and some people who have even withdrawn from the Australian Open. Let's get stuck into it first, though, JG, with the United Cup. And like I just said, Taylor Fritz sealed the deal against Hurkacz in a thrilling match. I mean, it went all the way to a tie-break in the third. Good to see Hurkacz back and playing at the top level again. But Taylor Fritz, maybe you're right, having him high up the rankings in 2025.
I think one thing we need to start with the United Cup is it was ultra competitive, and the level of tennis we saw throughout was at a very high level. You mentioned the Fritz-Hurkacz match. That was a really good one. Surprising that they're playing at that level, I think, so early on. And exactly the same with the women's. I think maybe that even eclipsed it at times. I thought that first set in spells, before we saw like a medical timeout from Iga, was amazing between her and Coco. And I've got to give you some credit because you did fancy Coco to have a fantastic 2025. Obviously, I'm not judging her whole year on results up until the 5th of January, but still, she's impressed me more than what I thought she could do this early. Like, I thought the way she played against Iga, who come to win, she was ultra competitive. The handshake at the end, I don't know if you saw it, was a bit cold. I think Iga is a bad loser, and I think a lot of that comes down from the fact that she doesn't lose very often. Yep. And maybe she should learn to lose in a better way. We have seen her obviously been very gracious in defeat, but I think there needs to be a bit more work done there. But credit to Coco, fantastic performance, and she is really hungry. I mean, some of the quotes from her, I don't know if you've got some there, she is bigging herself up big time. She said, I think I have the belief now that I'm one of the best players in the world. I think I play great tennis. I'm happy to get a point on the board for Team USA. It was tough today, I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of Polish fans. I appreciate the atmosphere. Thank you to the US fans, especially the ones up there that were carrying. And then the next question was, that 17 wins out of your last 20 matches, what belief does that give you in tough moments? And that is a lot of why you believe she's going to be doing so well. I call you recency bias, Ben, because you go off recent results, and recent results of back end of last year, she was great, and you'd expect her to carry that on. Well, you expected her to. I thought that was just a bit of recency bias. She would start the year a bit slower off the off season, but she's just not stopped. It seems like this is the same level of Coco Gauff as last year.
Yeah,
and I'll let you read her answer there.
Yeah, she says here, I realise the worst thing that can happen today is I lose. In this type of format, even if I lose, we still have a chance to win. I just said I'm going to give it my best effort, and I think that's all the team can ask of me. Great attitude, and I think this is maturity coming through from Coco Gauff that we've been seeing. That's why she won the US Open, because she said, I'm just going to go out and have fun. I'm a very, very young tennis player still, and I shouldn't be putting so much pressure on myself. I'm doing so well. All she needs to do is make small adjustments like that mentally, small adjustments physically as well, because one thing I don't know if people were sort of picking up on, I think Vance picked up on it, she's significantly changed her grip, which has managed to make her serve more consistently, especially on the second serve, and I'll just show it there on the screen for people. So this is like the small adjustments coming from Coco's game, and I think her forehand against Iga was the main weapon, and that's the one thing which I haven't seen from her before. It's always the backhand which is Coco's biggest weapon. She was pushing Iga around with the forehand, and if she's doing that, she's shoring up the serve, which was a bit wobbly. She's shoring up the forehand, bit wobbly. All the other things in her arsenal are amazing already. So this is why I'm saying there's a gradual improvement constantly, and she's already at the top of the game. Amazing stuff from Coco.
I don't know how you've done that, but my next piece was going to be speaking about her forehand. But you've managed to read my mind exactly the same. I'm going to echo what you've just said with it. That was a weakness of last year.
Yep.
Towards more the start and middle, it did improve. But some of the points against Iga was, I mean, she was overpowering Iga with a forehand. So just goes to show Coco Gauff is here to stay, one of the top players, and you can see now players to beat Iga 3 times in her career. She's on the list. She has beaten her 3 times, tied with Maria Sakkari of all people. I'm not sure if we're going to see Sakkari doing so much this year, but I'd like to see her make a resurgence. You've got Pegula on 4, Saber on 4, Rybakina on 4, Ostapenko on 4.
Yeah, I mean, it's massive, really. And I think the big thing to take away from the win from Coco Gauff is she's done it in straight sets again. That's 4 sets in a row against Iga with no reply. And coming into the Australian Open, which is notoriously one of Iga's not-so-good slams, she'll probably be happy to go face her again. I think if she's in Iga's side, I'm not sure how it's going to work with the seedings, I'd have to have a look, but if she's in Iga's side of the draw, I think she'll much prefer that because she knows she can beat her. She knows she can beat Sabalenka as well, but down under is a different story for Sabalenka. She loves the fast hard courts, and obviously maybe that's a good segue because we saw her picking up her first title of the year. I mean, just going to have one last one on Coco. This is Steve Weissman just saying Coco's totally changed the dynamic of her rivalry with Iga and she's coming for the #1 ranking this year. Go on, Steve. I'm in with you there on that one. So
it's a good tweet. I like this one. The reason being, it's kind of how I felt. I think it is a dynamic shifting result. I do feel that she's now put herself in that conversation big time for the Australian Open, whereas before I wasn't really so big on her. I thought she was going to start the year maybe like she did last year and grow into it. But the rivalry now is a bit bigger. It's a bit broader. We've got some new names in the mix as well, which we're going to get onto later on. And some old names who have come back but look a bit injured. But the whole women's tour to start 2025, for me, is a lot more exciting than what it was in 2024. I don't know if that's just my opinion or if you agree, but I'm more enthralled in some of these matches. I'm interested to see what's going to be happening with the WTA at the moment. And Coco's helping that narrative.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I think that the reason you're so invested is because sort of the groundwork was laid last year to set out a few narratives. And I think now we're starting to see...
Now they're playing into effect a little bit.
Exactly, like the rivalries are starting to hot up. Like the fact Coco's now got 2 wins back-to-back against Iga, she now enters the picture. Rybakina's dropped down a bit of a level as well. Sabalenka's now won, she's 2 Grand Slams last year. So now she's back-to-back, is it Australian Open champion? So it's all the narratives are there for a really exciting tournament coming up. I can't wait. The women's is maybe more exciting than the men's.
At this current stage, I would agree. Yes, let's see if that changes. And there's a nice segue onto Mario's tweet regarding Sabalenka, because like you said, she is the one to beat at the moment. And in Australia, no one's really matched her for the past 2 years.
No.
2023, she won Adelaide, then won the Australian Open. 2024, she got to the final of Brisbane, won the Australian Open. And that was quite a funny one last year where she lost to Rybakina. I believe she got bageled in one of the matches. After the match, she made a joke with her coaching team saying, it's a lot better. You've done better than last year. Because it wasn't a good one. Yeah, here we go. So she said to her team, last but not least, guys, well done. That was much better than last year. So last year she lost to Rybakina 6-love, 6-3 in the final. But if you go back to that graphic, you can see 2025, she's gone and done better, won Brisbane. She's the big favourite for the Australian Open. Can she win it 3 times in a row? It looks like she is set for that. 4 sets dropped across these 5 tournaments as well. Loves the start of the year, loves the hard courts, loves Australia.
Yeah, I mean, she is definitely the favourite. And the thing with Coco Gauff, I know that you're saying like last year maybe could have done a bit better. She made the semi-final of the Australian Open last year, which was her best ever performance there. Yep. And I think she's just getting better. That's the main reason for picking Coco Gauff to win it. I think that if she does come up against Sabalenka, she's proved she can beat her in a slam final already. It's a different court, though. Sabalenka's much better in Australia, as we know, and it's going to be tough. I mean, but it does give me some hope that the fact somebody ran her quite close in this Brisbane final, and someone you probably want to speak a little bit about. Here she is, Polina Kudermetova.
I think it's incredible. I can't believe what I've done. There should be a short coming out very soon, I'm sure. But for those who don't know, back in 2024, I had to do my 2025 predictions. On the men's, I picked Joao Fonseca as my wild card outside the top 100 to have a great year. He's doing amazing, won a challenger. On the women's, I picked Polina Kudermetova, the young 21-year-old, I believe.
20, I think.
Who, she was outside the top 100. And, I mean, up until the last podcast, she was number one in the race. She's not going to be now because she lost the final, but still impressive, beating Kalinina, is it? And Kalinskaya as well.
Kasakina.
Kasakina and Kalinina.
And Samsonova as well.
And Samsonova, and taking the first set of a final against the best player in the world in Australia. So based off that, I am over the moon with this pick. I think she is incredible. She is a player to watch, and maybe I've undershot her. Is she someone who could sneak inside the top 10? And have I done the best ever wildcard pick you could possibly choose?
Yeah, she's 21. Sorry, I apologise. I lowered her age there for a second. But yeah, she's number 3 in the race, in case anybody's wondering. She's above Iga. So there you go. She's below Coco and Sabalenka. Will it end like that come the end of the year? I doubt it. She's playing qualifying, though, for the Australian Open, so it will be interesting to see how Polina Kudermetova continues this run. I mean, you've got to be fearful. If you've just got that draw just come out and you're like, oh, who have I got in the qualifying? Great. I've got someone who just literally beat everybody inside the top 100 and now has just taken a set of scary for everybody else in the qualifying.
Yeah, I don't know when her first match is in qualifying, but hopefully she's got some rest between that period. Is it a few days she's got?
Tomorrow.
Oh, damn. Well, so she doesn't have any rest. She's going straight into it, but she is warm and ready. And the first match is up against who?
It is against Bandecki. So okay. I think you'd be pretty. I think she'll be pretty. I think she'll be okay.
Yeah.
I think Bandecki last result lost in Canberra in straight sets to Sierra, and then before that didn't play until back end of last year. But it was probably just ITFs. I think she was playing in. Yeah. So
yeah, not a bad player to draw then in the opening round. Hopefully she can do it. And
God, hang on, let's just take a second because I've not seen. I only looked at the last result, so let's just have a quick look at the actual what she's been up to, because I've actually just seen a run of form at the back end of last year. I mean, look at this. I didn't know that it's all in. It is all in ITF matches, but she's won.
Yeah.
Is that 3?
I knew you was going to show me that.
Wow, that's quite good though.
It is good, but this is another level now. I mean, we're talking about someone who's playing the top players.
Number 3 in the race.
It could be tougher than maybe I anticipated. However, I expect Polina to get the job done, and hopefully she doesn't have to play at her best to do it as well.
Well, you'd expect after all of those results. The only thing you can't do is go in with complacency, thinking
definitely not.
Because anything can happen in tennis, and all it takes is one bad match and the other player to be playing well, and then you find yourself out in the qualifying, and that would be a terrible thing to happen considering how well she's played in this first week of the year. Exciting though. It adds a good narrative in. That was a very exciting final, very exciting tournament in Brisbane. We had other narratives running in the other tournament in Auckland, though, and it wasn't quite as great. Unfortunately, Naomi Osaka was a set up in the final and then retired. I mean, terrible way to go out. Lower abdomen checked out and then retired from the match. 1 set away from winning the title. And Clara Towson takes the title on pretty much a default there. Not a good way to win a tournament.
Must be strange winning a title like that. I don't know how you feel. Of course, you're pleased you got there, but I think it does take the gloss off the win slightly.
Especially when you're down a set as well.
Definitely. But credit to Osaka. She's looking all right this year. And if she can avoid some injuries, hopefully she'll be someone who can make a run for a top 10 or a push for a Grand Slam. I did predict her last year to get top 10. If anything is to do with game to love these last few years, what my predictions are is usually a year early. So it wouldn't surprise me if she does make the top 10 this year, considering I didn't put her in it. I think that happened with Paula Badoza. It's happened with Djokovic not winning the slam. It's happened with a lot of different things. It's always 1 year afterwards.
Does that mean Nadal's going to be in the top 10 this year?
Not Nadal, that's for sure. That one's done. But let's just stick with the women's tour and then we'll move on to the men's, because the tennis letter done a good tweet talking about the big three, big four, and sort of the top end of tennis at the moment. And Sabalenka was asked how important it is for her to prove that she's the dominant player of this generation between her and Iga. And it's quite fascinating. She said, so for those who don't know, Grand Slams, Iga has 5, Sabalenka has 3, so there's 2 away. How desperate is she to prove that she's the dominant player of this generation? Arina said, well, I love the way we push each other. It's not like I'm thinking about her amount of Grand Slams. I'm more focused on myself, just trying to push myself to the limit and see how far I can get in the sport. At the end of my career, I want to look back and be proud of myself. We'll talk about that at the end of my career. So she's given a very common big three response like we see from the men's over the years. Yeah. But I wanted to pose this to you. So Iga's on 5, Saba's on 3, Rybakina's got 1, Coco's got 1 as well.
Yeah.
But a few finals. How do you see it playing out over these next few years? Obviously, a lot is going to be riding on this year. Can Coco go and win some slams? You believe she will. At least 1 anyway.
Yeah.
But Saba, if she wins this Australian Open, she's then 1 away. If she is to win 2 this year, would you then argue that Sabalenka has been the more dominant of the 2 of them?
Yeah. I think that that is the one worry for the other women at the top of the game, I think, is how dominant Sabalenka could be on the hard courts. There's 2 hard court slams every year, don't forget. And and she's good at Wimbledon as well, just yet to find an actual title there. The one thing that Coco Gauff's going to have to do to insert herself into the picture is become competitive in Australia. And if she can do that in this Australian Open, I still think that in future years, she's still so young. She's still going to be, she'll have an Australian Open to her name, maybe a few, but come the end of her career, I believe, Coco Gauff. The big thing with Iga is, can she become competitive in Australia? Because it's definitely one of her, and Wimbledon as well. I think Coco can definitely be competitive at Wimbledon, more so than Iga. The big question for Iga is, will the others get a lot better at Roland Garros? And if they do, where's Iga's slams going to start coming from? She needs to improve on the other surfaces, because if they start improving, and Coco Gauff's already been to the final of Roland Garros, if she starts working out the clay the same way she's done with the hard courts, I think Iga could be in trouble. And I don't know where the other slams come from Iga.
Yes, Iga a few years ago looked untouchable where she was. But it seems now that there's a few more players who can beat her. And it's certainly made it fascinating.
Well, she's
an interesting
done that.
head-to-head as well, Ben, which you might not know about, is Coco Gauff leads the head-to-head against Sabalenka 5-4.
5-4, yep. Indeed. That's one of the most interesting narratives, because even though Sabalenka's so dominant, when she comes up against Coco, it's a different, the mental side of the game plays the biggest factor. And I think Coco has a number in big moments. If she meets Coco before a final,
a little bit. She did lose the semis, the Australian Open last year.
Yeah, before a final, I think she's okay. In a final, I think if it's 1 and 2, I think, and they meet in finals, I think Coco will have the better of her. Maybe it's different in Australia. People are going to come for me and be like, "Oh, you're mad." Sabalenka is by far the best in Australia, but Coco Gauff is still super young, and I think she's getting better all the time. I keep saying it. The big person for me who needs to improve now and needs to show a little bit, and people are going to say, why are you always on Iga's back? But she showed so much dominance that everyone had to raise their game. Everyone raised their game. She has to do it again now. And we haven't seen it yet from her. I mean, obviously at Roland Garros, she's always dominant, but if they close the gap there, she's in trouble.
Yeah, agreed. Let's move on to the men's, Ben.
Yes, let's move on.
And I think
one more thing on the women's. Just we obviously got to touch on it just because we're on the women's. I don't want to come back to it. Well, we didn't put her inside our top 10, and maybe this is looking like a good prediction. Unfortunately, Barbora Krejcikova, Wimbledon champion, has withdrawn from the Australian Open with a back injury. Hopefully she gets better soon. She is another player who can mix it with some of the best players on her day, and it will be a big miss for the tournament, I think. I do like to see former Slam champions to be in the draw, and she's got 2 of them. That's somebody we didn't mention there in that list. I mean, obviously we've got Iga, Saba, Krejcikova with 2. She hasn't won any hard court slams, so maybe not so much of a miss on the hard courts, but who knows? Maybe she'll get a slam on a hard and she'll have all of them. 1 on each surface.
Yeah, I don't know how her year's going to play out, but it's not started well at all. Looking at the men, so Jiri Lehečka, he wins his 2nd title of the year. Adelaide, Brisbane, not of the year, of his career.
Well, yeah, I know what you mean.
As Riley Opelka retires just after 15 minutes, down 1-4 in the Brisbane final. I think it was. I did see what the injury was. I don't know if you've got it there. Was it his wrist?
I didn't even.
I don't remember
it.
now. I've seen a post about his injury, but it's a bit unfortunate for him. But fantastic. It could be the comeback year, and he could be the one who wins ATP Comeback Player of the Year for sure. He's already gone and beat Novak Djokovic. We've not spoke about it, but the way he did it is he risked so much. He went crazy with Djokovic and thought, I'm going to risk everything, and managed to beat him. It's a fantastic achievement to be able to do that. We really were thinking that Djokovic was going to kind of walk that draw with the players who were left in there, but it wasn't to be. Unfortunate for Riley Opelka that he did get injured in the final, and it's another one like the Osaka. The difference is he was losing.
Yeah, I mean, he was 4-1 down. I mean, it barely had even got started. But if you're somebody like him, if you say I can't seem to find where it says what it was, but he's saying it's something which, wrist is locking up and causing him pain. There you go. So for somebody where the serve is so important, you've really got, I mean, we've had Kyrgios with the wrist, we've got now Opelka with the wrist. They dearly need to just
You've
sit
got a
down.
bit of a sore wrist as well, don't you?
No, I did. I had to rest it for 6 months until I was able to play again, which is crazy. Like, I mean, that's why it's so scary. It's such an integral part of every tennis player, and it's something that you don't really think about until it goes wrong. And Lehečka, though, I mean,
it seems to only affect the top players, though, isn't it? Like yourself, your Pelkas, and stuff like that.
Pretty much.
The big, powerful ones.
Exactly. So people with the big
Kyrgios.
serves. That's it. Me, Opelka, and Kyrgios. We're in the same bracket, I feel, for serve speed. I feel that Lehečka, if you're him, how do you come away from this tournament? Because he won the semi-final due to a retirement, and he won the final due to a retirement, and he only played 3 matches, really. I mean, he's won the tournament. He's 23 years old, but can you really take any, what are the positives you take away from it? Because, I mean, the Dimitrov one, it was close to being, I mean, it could have been 1 set all, but it was 4-all in the second. He was set up, and then Dimitrov retired. And he'd only beaten up to that point Jarry, Nishioka, Holger Rune, and that's quite a good win at the start of the tournament. Yep. But, yeah, I mean...
He's a quality player. You can't take too much away from him. He's a quality player, and that's the hand he was dealt. I feel he is someone who, even if he played him, probably would have beaten him anyway. I think he is that good. So Jiri Lehečka was actually someone who I had, him and Thomas Mahac, were there to sort of break inside the top 10. I had them sort of between 10 and 15 as real dangerous players to watch.
Well, I'm glad
I'm not that surprised on that basis.
I'm glad that you said that other name as well, because that is the thing that I was just literally searching for. I put a comment under when it happened on Twitter as well, which was in their match in the United Cup. Thomas Mahac, I've never seen him like this in my life before. He was losing the match. I know it was against Taylor Fritz, and he was up, and then he suddenly lost, I believe, the second set, and then he just completely lost his mind. I don't know what happened to Thomas Mahatch. He went back to like the box. He was through his racket. He was absolutely devastated. He came back on the court after losing the set. He just retired. He wasn't even injured. He just quit the match. What happened to Thomas Mahatch here? I mean,
and this is why I didn't include him in there, because I just don't think he's a consistent, reliable player at his peak level. He's close to top 5 level. I'm telling you, he's that good. This guy he's a sublime tennis player, but there's some things, question marks around his consistency and longevity through matches and careers, and I'm just not sure if he can do it on a one-off match. He can be a fantastic player though.
Let me paint the picture a bit better then, because I didn't do it very well then, because I've just forgot some of the details. So what actually happened was he had two match points. Yeah, he had two match points. This is where it all came from. It all stemmed from the 2 match points, I remember now. And then after he lost and didn't manage to win the match there. He got broken twice and was 6-5 down. And, well, after those match points, he completely lost his head. Yeah, and then he didn't even finish the set. He just quit. Bear in mind, this is for your country. This isn't even for you on your own. This is a team sport, and you've just quit and lost it for your country. That is bonkers.
Wild. I didn't even realise this, to be fair.
It's bonkers. Thomas Mahatch, I've got so much respect for him, but this is like so out of character. I mean, he had such a good year last year. Why start the year like this? I mean, he just beat Kaboli 6-1, 6-2 in the match before. He came up against a Taylor Fritz in great form, won the first set, was just about to lose the second, could have made a run for it in the third if he recouped himself, and just quit. Strange stuff from Thomas Mahatch.
On a more positive note, there is a great story what's happened. I don't know if you saw this in Hong Kong. Ooh. And it was a dream week for the Frenchman Müller. It is his first ATP title. He won every match from a set down, only the third player to do so. Wow. He won every match as an underdog. He won the decided set against Nishikori, who holds the best win rate in final set, 72%. He spent 12 hours on court. We've known him for a bit on the tour now. We've followed some of his matches. We don't really give him much credit. At times, we often have him going out of brackets, and I don't know, I don't really back him often, but what a fantastic tournament and brilliant way to start 2025. I saw he put his own tweet out, and he's rightfully very emotional. He's been on tour for a bit now. The first ATP title will always be a very memorable moment, and he's had to do it the tough, hard way. You spoke about Lehechka. This is the total opposite. He's had to play every match, and he's been down a set, and he's been underdog, and he's had to play some of the best players in the world ever in third set matches.
I mean, it's
or 5 set matches in Nishikori's
and
eyes.
And don't forget that I'm going to show you a different example of how to deal with it. We just saw Thomas Mahatch. Bear in mind, he played Miomir Kecmanovic in, I think it was the second round match. It went all the way to a final set tiebreak, and he won it 12-10. But bear in mind, in this final set, he was serving as well for the match and then had too much points and lost his serve. Did he give up? Did he quit the match? No, he didn't. He went on. He had another match point, and then he didn't take that. He had 2 against him, and then eventually he went on to win the match. I mean, that's somebody who was destined, I feel, to win their first ATP Tour title. Alexander Müller. Is he going to be a threat in the Australian Open? I mean, it's definitely one to watch out for now.
What's his ranking?
His ranking is 67.
Yeah, so someone you're going to want to avoid, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
It's going to give him some confidence, what's just happened. But I don't still think he is a top player.
What about this guy? Is this guy a top player?
This guy is a top player, and I'm glad you mentioned him. He's won a challenger title. I don't know if you want to speak about some of the players he's beaten.
Yeah, I'll bring him up.
I would search it, but I can't be bothered, and I'm going to let you do it. It is Jacob Fernley, I know, is a recent one. There's someone else in there who's quite good. This was the player I had outside the top 100 to have a fantastic year. Look at him go. He beat your guy in the next gen finals.
Yeah.
I think we did it before that, didn't we?
Yeah, just before. I think we did it just before the final. Yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't realise that they were even going to be playing in the final. But Fonseca killed your guy, Lerner Tien. He's still learning how to find his racket because he's not played since. And then beat Mackenzie McDonald, Adjukovic, Mayotte, Fernley, Quinn.
Straight
Brilliant
sets as well.
Not dropping a set. He said in the video that he's heading to Melbourne. He's looking forward to it. Everyone, watch out. You do not want to draw this guy right now. He's in hot form, and one who I think hopefully can have a good run and get me some extra points to absolutely annihilate you on the men's and women's. Ben, you just don't have the wild card picks, unfortunately. You've lost your magic touch. And I am the man when it comes to these top 100, outside the top 100, the challenger players. This is where it's at. JG knows best, and this is the legend who's going to annihilate you.
I feel that this is beginning of the year. I mean, I'll give you your plaudits for picking some people who are doing well at the start of the year. We all know it's when it gets to the 12th round in boxing, that's where it's really won and lost. The people who can last the whole event, the whole season, the people, is he still going to be there come the end of the year? It's time will tell. But I'll give you plaudits right now. And why don't we have a look at the race? João Fonseca, number 6 in the race.
Moving up there. This is just ridiculous.
He's done well. No.
Ethan Quinn, another one who's doing quite well. I
Yeah.
think he could be quite dangerous.
And
He was someone I was actually considering.
And unfortunately, remember from the last podcast, he was number 1 in the race, now down to 12. Hadi Habib, unfortunately, it didn't last long being number 1 in the world. Unfortunately, he's down to 12. I think
He's playing qualies.
Yeah, he will be playing qualies, so keep an eye out for Hadi
Who's
Habib.
Fonseca got in the qualies? I've not even checked
Well,
that.
mate, don't worry. I've got it all here. Don't worry. I've got. He's going to be playing Gomez in the first round, which is quite interesting. I think he's in the same section as Hadi
I
Habib.
don't know who this Gomez is. I don't know who Gomez is.
Gomez, full name is Federico Augustin.
What's his ranking?
Gomez is 137.
No, I'm not really familiar with him, so it's rare for me. But that's an unknown match. I'll have to have a look.
They've only played once before, but it was on clay, so I can't really look too much into that. And Gomez won last year. But, yeah, and he just beat Lajovic. Not a bad person to beat. Gomez is quite a good player.
I bet you're hoping Gomez does him over. What about Lerner Tien? Is he playing at all?
All right. I mean, he's still learning at the moment, but he is playing, and it's not the best start, I don't think.
Please be someone good.
Barrère.
Oh, Barrère! He's going to annihilate him. He will not beat Barrère.
Not a good draw.
I'm going to be tuning into this one anyway. Tomorrow night, 11 p.m. UK time. Let's see Lerner Tien get demolished by Barrère and demolish Ben's picks. Brilliant.
It is a bit disappointing. He did just get to a final as well, Barrère. Lost to Karatsev. Karatsev back on the Challenger Tour now, and he won the Nonthaburi final. That's in Thailand. So well done to Karatsev. Maybe he's going to make another resurgence back from the Challenger Tour.
What about your women's pick? Who's she playing?
Yeah, I mean, let's speak about your women's pick first, because she actually has an opponent. My one, unfortunately, I don't even know she's playing.
My one.
Who's she playing in the first
We went
round?
through it.
Oh, okay,
we did it in this podcast.
Apologies. Yeah, my one's not. I think she's still not playing anybody, unfortunately. I feel she's giving your girl a little bit of a head start for the year.
Why is she not playing?
I don't really know, if I'm honest. There's not much information out there on Eva Jovic. Still young. I mean, might be doing her A-levels or something like that. Who knows?
I think she's lost interest, mate. She's not... She's lost interest for the sport already.
She won back-to-back ITFs last year, so she's definitely one for the future. I mean, maybe she's 189 in the world, so she should be... Maybe she's getting a wild card. Who knows? I'll have to have a look at the wild card entries. Let me know in the comments if you hear any news on Eva Jovic, because I can't find any just at this second, which is unfortunate.
That's all right. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and let us know about some of the things we've discussed. Of course, the 2025 season's coming thick and fast. We've got the Australian Open just around the corner. We've got a lot of qualifying happening right now. For obvious reasons, we know who we're going to be supporting in the qualifying, but we're going to do a more in-depth video speaking about some of the other qualifying players as well, because there is some good ones in there. And certainly a very fascinating tournament, I believe, this Australian Open, because Djokovic is no longer that big dominant figure there. He's in decline. On the women's, it's maybe a bit more, we're expecting the Sabalenka win. But on the men's, it seems to be a bit open. Does that mean we're going to have a wild card sensation? Maybe a Joao Fonseca from the qualifying go all the way and win the Australian Open? I'm going to leave that for you guys to ponder. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you very soon. Ben's still pondering it now.